Welcome to the energy that surrounds us. And welcome to another exciting episode of The Energy That Surrounds Us. I'm your host, Michael, and I am joined tonight with a very special guest. But before I introduce her, there's a couple of things that I've noticed popped up in the chat room I need to bring attention to for homework, or not homework, what's the word I'm looking for housekeeping. I always forget that word. So first is the Paralinks United Network is saying during this broadcast, you can support our page by sending stars. It's a digital gift that'll help us with bringing you better content and film equipment so that we can do more show types for you. So there's that piece. If you so feel inclined, I would greatly appreciate it. And we are on legitpodcast.com, and you can check out those shows and networks for great shows. And they have lots of content every night. So both networks are really strong networks with a lot of great material. And Parapost, we are airing on them as well, and so join that network, as each has their own unique flavor of shows. So amongst these networks, I'm sure you can find plenty of entertainment. And also proudly announcing, we have recently joined up with UFO Expo. That is a very cool network about aliens and other topics, so give them a check out as well. And now I have the distinct pleasure and blessing to introduce someone who may look familiar to everyone if you follow my channels, because yes, it's true, she did interview me, so now I get to turn the tables and interview her. So I bring to you the one, the only, the amazing, talented, way better at writing than I am, Nicole Gaspard.
Oh, thank you for that great introduction. I appreciate it for having me. How you doing?
I'm good, and it's my pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
So I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, say a little bit about your podcast show, and the multitude of books that you've written.
Yeah, I'm up to 21, I believe, now. This is my podcast right here, Mystic Whispers podcast. I finally got the hat for my podcast.
I need to get a
and
hat.
yeah, it's quite expensive. If go to this Visa print, I think it was. But anyway, yeah, I've been writing for a long time, ever since grade school. So yeah, I started out. It's funny. I started out in poetry instead of just writing memoirs, and now I'm up to horror fiction novels. So I like to keep myself busy, and I'm also part of the Roy Lacy Foundation, and I used to help out with sometimes with the remote viewing, and that's why I consider myself psychic seer and a medium. So I can do both. Hopefully
Wow.
that narrows it down.
Yeah, and I have to say, how do you find time to do it all? Because I can barely keep up with shows and working on one book.
I know, right? Yeah, being retired has its plus, and so I got to retire early in life, so I just started to continue writing and radio. I've done radio in the past, so I've been with Paranormal Q Radio for a few years, and then that's where I really started to connect with people from the More Legacy Foundation. So it's pretty cool.
That is cool. And I remember when I had on some of the guests of the Warren Legacy Foundation, they all were speaking highly of you. And
Oh, thank you. I try.
so, and you paranormal investigate too, do you not?
I don't as much as I would like to, but that's the way I started, so time in various, excuse me, in various haunted locations. Um, and I've been to Queen Mary and Alcatraz Island, all of my haunted places, and then Winchester Mystery House. I almost got to investigate the Whaley House, but we didn't have time. I was kind of bummed about that, but I did see it at least.
You've been to places I haven't been to, but
I highly recommend Queen Mary. It's very. I have so many crazy experiences with that location.
so what is the Queen Mary like? Because I hear a lot of different stories of it's haunted, it's not so haunted, it's got a lot of activity, not so much. So what's your feeling of it?
I think it's definitely to be haunted because it's surrounded by ocean water, and the water itself is a great conduit for spirits to get energy. I think that's one of the main reasons why it can be haunted, and having um um a lot of operators on the ship lost their lives on the job, and I've seen shadow people. I've heard stories about the main inspector. Her name is Jackie, I believe, and she haunts the pool area. But I think she travels throughout the ship. And even though I haven't seen or experienced her while I was there, but I did when I was remote viewing. I saw her when I could do that. But other than that, I haven't really seen her when I was there on the ship. But however, if I may say, um, I've had heard stories about her with the other groups that's been around, touring around the ship. They have many tours. They have historic tours all the way through paranormal tours, and we took all the tours that they have. So I've been throughout. Even one time, I even got to go through the pool area, which is not a restricted area. But I'm glad I got to do that before I got close. So yeah, it's pretty airy down there. So I really come stay there for long.
Yeah, why do you think they closed off the pool area?
I thought it was because they were doing some more reconstruction work because it was closed down. The whole ship was closed off because of COVID. And then I think somebody finally bought the ship and they reopened it. So I think it's reopened now. And they're showing the Dark Harbor, how they do that every year for Halloween. At the time that we went one time, and I highly recommend not to go there at that time, unless you like Dark Harbor. But I always thought it's kind of funny when we went during the time they were just doing a Dark Harbor, and we kept hearing those screams, It is kind of eerie when you hear those screams.
Yeah.
So,
Do you
and one
think this?
time, oh,
Oh, go ahead.
okay, and one time they let us go through the Dark Harbor. I'm like, no, I'm good, I'll stay right here. I can hear the screams, so I'm good. We
I
stayed
was
behind
gonna.
on that one.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you think the screams were spirits on the ships, or was it part of the attraction of Dark Harbor?
It was mainly from the attraction from Dark Harbor. I believe so. Or it could be
So
both.
yeah. So your experiences on the Queen Mary, do you feel like there are certain times where it's more active and more um how can I put more the spirits are more engaging, or is it seasonal, or is it pretty much you go, you're gonna get?
I think it's pretty much everything. Because if you're open to it, you might experience more. That's what, I believe. Like, they always say life attracts life. And it depends on the connections, I believe. And, yeah, I think they come around day or night. I've had experiences both times. And, one time, one of my first tours, it was during the day, and that was when I first seen a shadow person in their engine room. And I'd like to add, my grandparents used to work in the engine room to be married.
Really?
So I believe I was still in operation yet. And they tell me stories about those girls Yaki and inmates and everything. Quite history.
So it's been haunted for a long time. It's not a
Oh yeah,
recent
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, there's somebody that to tragedy on that ship. It's no wonder why it's so haunted. And we have to go through the most haunted rooms too. And I've had crazy experiences down there as well.
So I'm a little curious with your family's connection. Do you think the spirits maybe recognize you through them and say, hey, this person's been with us for a long time, her family, let's give her a show, let's talk?
I believe that to be possible. Yeah. I think I don't know if they would recognize me, but maybe when I was younger, I would go on there. I don't know if they recognize me now that I'm older, but I guess so. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, and I'm curious if, like, your family's connection, working in the engine room with spirits down there, if you were to say, hey, spirits, do you remember my grandfather or grandmother, and throw out their names and see if you get a reaction, and
I would
that would.
definitely keep that in mind if I get an opportunity to investigate with you. Yeah, I'll definitely share it.
And I think you said you were at the Winchester mansion too.
Yeah, I was just touring the house and everything. We didn't have time to investigate like I would like. So I was with my cousin, but I'm surprised she took me anyway because I'm into these those hunting and things like that. So I was glad she took me there and to the Alcatraz Island. It wasn't so heavy there as it was on the island. Isn't that weird?
With so you think the house was more haunted than the island?
No, I think it's the other way around. I think the island's more haunted.
I was gonna say, because yeah, with all the criminals being there, I'm sure energy and surrounded by water, and it's
Yeah. Excuse me. Mm.
everything that's going on there. And I'm a little curious with Winchester. I know you did a tour and everything and didn't get to investigate, but what was your feelings there? Were you picking up energy while you were there? What was it all like?
Actually, it was kind of funny. I was picking up like real light, happy feelings. I wasn't feeling any other than that. I was feeling happy the whole time. So I picking up on a positive energy there.
Well, when I think about it, if she built the home for the purposes that she did and it's finally completed,
Right.
I wonder if the energy you're picking up of the happiness is that people are coming to it and it's not just sat and gone and disappeared into history, that it's still a relevant place that people come to, and so she gets a lot of visitors.
Oh yeah, and also, if I may add, excuse me, my voice gets out sometimes. Sorry about that. But one time I asked the tour guide if I can take pictures, and that's usually not allowed, right?
Right.
And she said sure. So I told her what I do and everything. She's like sure, right away. I'm like okay, cool, take pictures. Yeah, I felt honored to do that.
And it's interesting too is how much of the history, is backed up by the paranormal and experiences there, and how they explain all the rooms where it's like the door opens up into a wall or a staircase that goes to a door that goes nowhere. And so I wonder how they're explaining that all away.
Yeah, I would remember all of that information. I don't know how they do it, the tour guide. Just knowledge, walking knowledge. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to remember all of that. Um, but yeah, it's like she was very superstitious as well. I believe there's something about certain numbers, like number 13, number 13 especially, if I remember right. There were 13 bathrooms, 13, posts that were upside down posts. Weird things like that. Found it interesting.
Yeah. So if you were given the chance, would you want to return there and experience it? Or
Oh
would you?
yes, definitely the heartbeat.
And I'm a little curious if you watch paranormal shows, like TV shows, because I know Destination Fear went there
Yeah, they
and
did.
they did their investigation in the dark. And to me, I was
They
thinking
do. They
that
do
that
have.
was
I'm sorry. Yeah, they do have flashlight tours and investigation. I would love to do that.
yeah. But I was thinking doing with no flash. They did it with no flashlights and tried to walk around the house and get to specific spots to investigate. And I was
That
thinking that was way too dangerous.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, what if they walked into the window? What if window or the stairs that leads to the window and you just fall off?
Yeah, well, if I remember
That
right,
would be me.
Dakota almost did fall off of an area. He walked up and the floor just dropped out, and he
Oh,
like almost stepped through and was like stopped and turned on his light because he thought something was wrong and was like, "Oh my god, I almost fell to my death."
yes. Yeah, I would not recommend doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did watch the show and then I liked how they did the Project Fear and everything.
yeah.
No,
So, what
I
is your
was,
favorite shows to watch?
I like to watch, no hate mail, please. I like to watch those adventures. Uh,
I like how everybody starts off that show with "Don't hate me." It's like I know as soon as I say that, "Don't hate me," I know Ghost Adventures is the next words out of their mouth, and I find that kind of amusing because it's like it's a show. Why would people
Yeah,
hate you for watching that?
I don't mind. It's good entertainment, at least, you know.
Yeah,
So yeah, I started out with Build Invaders and Ghost Hunters. Um, there's quite a few ones. Paranormal Lockdown with Nick Roth, I believe.
yep, that's Nick Groff show, and actually for me, the first paranormal show, I always thought it was Ghost Hunters, but then I realized I was watching Paranormal State before I
Uh,
watched Ghost Hunters, and I was like, "Oh yeah." And I was
right,
thinking Ghost Hunters was a little bit better than Paranormal State because Paranormal State, everything was about demons, and I was thinking there can't be this many locations of those around, and so that just felt a little
true.
off, but that was what he was looking for, so I'm sure he found what he was looking for.
Yeah, yeah, I really don't watch that much TV. I'm always researching and writing, so very, I rarely watch TV anymore.
Yeah. So where do you get the inspiration for your books?
Most of it is from my experiences with the paranormal, and I have quite a few, like, you know, and UFOs as well. I wrote a book about that, and I can't remember what I called it, but yes, it's purely about my UFO experiences, and also from nightmares. I've had so many vivid nightmares, crazy.
Really?
Yeah,
So do you think nightmares to you are memories or flashes of something or something
I
totally
think
different?
a lot should be memories of past life, or it should be like premonitions. Because I do have a lot of premonitions, especially with death premonitions. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be the common premonition that a lot of people either want or get. And I've often wondered why that is because it's like, are we wanting to know so we can stop it, or are we wanting to know to prepare for it, or what's the fascination around knowing that particular point in time?
Right. I think if there's to warn us about something, that way we'll be better prepared of news.
Yeah. So
So,
I'm
yeah.
curious, with all of your research and writing and everything, what is death to you? Like, is it a finite ending, or is it a transition to another area, or do you go off to heaven and that's it? Or
Well,
I'm
I think
curious.
we do go to heaven and then we can return. It's like a transition. Like we're from let's say like a butterfly, you know, had their processes. So I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's interesting. Because a lot of people tend to look at it as one thing, but then all their experiences are something else, and they're like, "Well, I'm still not sure, and still not defining." And so, I feel like it's easier to look and find evidence of stuff and
Oh
when
yeah,
you have an idea of what you're looking for and you're open to everything, but you're not closed off either to it.
yeah. I think it's important to be open and you know have a skeptical side too, but be more open because you just don't want to be stuck here in one area and can't move ahead.
Yeah. So do you think spirits can be stuck in a place?
It depends. Like if they're murdered or had a tragic death, they don't realize. And that a lot of times it's a vegetable haunting, and you really can't help there either. It's
And
kind of sad.
it is, and I've kind of was just thinking about something that I've never thought about, and I'm curious your thinking around this is as investigators, we have come across people who say I was murdered, I died of natural causes, or I died accidentally. But I don't think I've ever come across a spirit that says I was a vegetable. I was in a vegetative state and just crossed. Have you come across that?
No, not yet.
I wonder if that happens or if it's different for them because of the state they're in.
It might be different, and their beliefs and background too.
Right. So, do you talk about your UFO experiences beyond the books, or do you really prefer everyone read the books?
I'm open to both.
So, how many UFOs have you experienced?
Too many I can't remember. I just found an older photograph I should have shown you. Um, but I'll share it after the show. You like
Sure.
one of my first encounters?
So, did this happen when you were young or older, or
I would
when did
say
this start?
in my early 20s. Actually, when I first started working. Yeah,
So, do you think it was tied to your work, is why you were seeing it, or
I don't know if it's I was also seeing ghosts and UFOs as well while I was working. And I don't know if I mentioned this like before, but I've had a ghost that actually followed me once from my workplace, of all places. Not from a cemetery, but from my former work. There's just a grocery store, and how often does that happen?
yeah? So, how did you find out that you had this spirit follow you?
It's a funny story. Hopefully, we have time for me to share it. But yeah, it's like all of a sudden I felt like something was messing with my hair all day. You know how someone like pulling and playing with your hair? And so at first I thought it was a bug, but it was more persistent than a bug, right? So later on I told my other girlfriend, her name is Kimberly, she's also a fellow investigator, psychic. You should have her on, Kimberly Dominique. And she'll tell you stories similar to mine. But we investigated together as well. And so I told her, I think there's something here with me. So we did a spirit box session with the SB7, hacked radio. And so I finally said, who was messing with my hair all day? And it's like, we get not only the answer, but the answer from another ghost, a female ghost, saying, stop it, Frank, from a female ghost. Uh, we started to laugh. I mean, we didn't mean to laugh, but we just couldn't help but laugh because how often does that happen? Have a ghost follow you, and you find out it's someone else, a female ghost, tell you who did it and why. So, yeah, that's crazy. We'll never forget it. We call it the jealous girlfriend EVP. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. That's like the most hilarious class A we ever had. EVP.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and
Oh man.
it's interesting you bring that up because a lot of people always think like the EVPs are like either talking about them, in their instance or what they're going through, or just to get your attention, but never a spirit turning in another spirit for something, and
exactly.
so that is I don't think I've ever had that one happen, and so that would be fun to have
That's
happen.
definitely for our books. So
Well,
I
and it
think
also
it'd be,
goes to show the spirits are watching out for you. You have spirits watching over you.
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
So
But he
how did
got told.
you yeah. So is he still around, or did they how did you get rid of him?
I think eventually they might get bored and they just left. I don't pay attention to them, you know, which is not good to keep attention. What is it called? Where, where you have to use, like, communicating with the spirit and notice keep coming back, right? And if
Right.
you don't, and try to break it, and that's how they, okay, it's time for us to notice. Hopefully they left.
That's interesting. That's an interesting theory is, if a spirit shouldn't be there, if you just ignore it, well, they'll just wander off to somewhere else where they're getting attention.
Right. And also faith, you know, it helps a lot. As I was born Christian, and still I believe in other things too. I'm open to other things.
Well, that's the one thing about being in the paranormal community is you have your faith that you're stout with and you pull your strength from, but you also have to be open to others because
Right.
there's so many different backgrounds of spirits out there that you could easily offend one and not mean to. So yeah, we have to be always be vigilant and
That's
be
true.
aware of what they're saying and to get their background.
Yeah, especially if you're studying. I'm starting to study demonology. So this pure out of curiosity. I think my curiosity might kill me someday, but I'm just really interested in that area.
Well, it's one thing to be interested in and study it, and it's another to proclaim and say, go to someone's house and say, "Yeah, I'm a demonologist and I'm here to help you." And
You don't want
it's
to say
like,
that.
whoa, hold your horses there. Just because you study something doesn't make you an expert of
Or if
something.
you read a book. No. Always learning.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. And so I'm curious when you're doing shows or on an investigation, do you have any pet peeves that come up and you're like, oh, I can't, and at the end going, I can't believe that person did that. I hate when they do that.
There's that one thing that really kind of makes me upset. It's where they start charging people when they come to you for help and then you charge them. No, I don't think that's right. But that's me.
Yeah, and I know there's mixed feelings about that because everyone has a right to make a living, but
Oh, there it is.
there is, you know, also the
Yeah.
fact of, if you're turning people away because they can't pay, then yeah, that's not
I've had
cool.
many offers, I've got people, I have many offers to be on their show and they're like, and I found out what they do. I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll admit, I'm trying to make this a living, but I I'm not too keen though on turning people away because of circumstances. I'm like, if you need help, you need help. There's
Yeah.
the finance. There's so what I'm trying to say is there's a thing in metaphysics called the energy exchange, and so yeah, as
Uh,
long as something's being exchanged, your energy for their energy, then everything's good and balanced. But if you're getting taken advantage of or being used, then that's not good either. So
right.
there has to be an exchange of something, but it doesn't always have to be money. That's where I think people get astray. And
True.
but yeah, and so who who is someone that you would love to have on your show that you haven't had on yet?
I would like to interview Zach Vegas. We just probably that happen, but that's the dream, right? But
You
anyway,
never know.
I
He's
would like to
got
pick his
shows
head.
coming
I would
out.
like to pick his head, see what he has to say.
Yeah. I mean, he's got new stuff coming out. He's got to promote, so
Yeah,
that'd probably be the time to
I'm
hit him
open.
up. Be
I'm
like, hey,
open. Oh,
I'll promote you. You want to come
yeah,
over here?
yeah. I mean,
That
that
yeah.
would be cool.
Yeah, I've been told either like celebrities, the best time to hit them up is either when they're needing to promote something or they
Right.
haven't done anything in a really long time. And so it's like, hey, you're keeping me in the limelight. I'll
I
definitely
wouldn't
come on.
have. I wouldn't mind having Nick Ross. I got to see him once in a virtual um what do you call it, virtual
Virtual
uh,
panel or
something like that,
Paracon.
and he was answering my questions. I'm like, cool, this is cool. I wish I could ask him, hey, give me my podcast.
Yeah, some of them might. And some of them, though, you got to watch out because some of them, like Zach, there may be a fee to come on the show. I don't know if he
Um,
has one or not,
yeah,
but
probably.
some of them you can start to come across going, yeah, I'd love to be on your show. And you go to their website and they're like, yeah, here's my fee for being a guest on your show. And it's like, wait a minute, what?
And I think they also looked at your views. Like, my channel is starting out. I don't think it was on my channel.
Right. Yeah, I think that, well, they look at the views and I think they look at all the places it's shared at. So
Yeah,
if it's shared out to a lot of different locations, then the shares kind of, then the views add up. But if it's only like a
true.
couple of places and you don't have a lot of views, you're probably not going to get a lot of people.
Probably. True.
But what is your style of interviewing on your podcast? What's your favorite way to interview people?
Just how they are, and it's like I don't really have a transcript or anything that I read off. I just go with the top of my head. Just tells where the energy flows.
Yeah, you know that's kind of how I do it, and I'm kind of curious with the whole remote viewing angle to it too. If you've ever were like, I have this guest scheduled, but something feels a little off, and do you ever remote view to go, this is what's off, or remote
you
view to
know,
go, yes, he would be
I've
a
been
great guest.
I've been pretty lucky. I haven't really got off on a negative side yet. But I've been pretty lucky so far.
Yeah, so how many podcast years have you been at it?
Oh gosh, we think it goes way back. I want to say 2008 or 2009. I feel like I started before that even. 'Cause I was always doing videos.
That's
I know I was with
amazing.
Paranormal King Radio for a good couple of years. Um, and now I'm with the Oracle Talk Radio. And then I got Paranormal Channel. And then we got Firm TV Network. So yeah, at least I have those in front of me.
Yeah. So what's your goal or mission for your podcast show?
Hopefully to give positive messages, and I like to promote their books or shows or whatever they like to promote. I just recently interviewed a really good artist, so he got together a one volume of his work that I liked in a book, so I let him promote that. So that's cool.
That's really cool. And so on your show, do you do one-on-ones, or do you like having more of a panel type show?
Mostly what I was, but I'm open to the other as well, like teams. I think I would done like a couple teams, but I'm open to that.
Yeah, because I remember being on your show, and it was a lot of fun and a lot
I
of
don't think I
different.
try to keep it going. You think that I want to be too boring.
Yeah. So what kind of topics can people find on your shows since you've been at it so long? I imagine you have quite a few.
um, it depends on what they want to share and promote. Paranormal or experiences or my experiences. Sometimes instead of interviews, I would do topics mostly from my experiences and my books.
No, I think that's good, and that's something that I started thinking about is, when I don't have a guest or something comes up with the guest, I tend to not air an episode and just make it up later. And a lot of
Right.
people are like, you should do an episode yourself and share where you're at and what you're doing. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm getting the feeling like nobody wants to hear what I'm doing. Everyone's tuning in for the guest, and that's
Yeah,
my
share name with
objective.
yourself.
Yeah. I, I like promoting guests more than myself, and I think that's something I need to change.
Right. Good balance.
Yeah. So, what are your favorite books to read? Like, of yours that you've written, do you go back and read some of them more than others?
I'm a big Stephen King fan, and I read a couple of his books. Shining. There's actually a book on a Shining, I believe, that he wrote. I love that one. Let's see. I think her name is Tamara Thora. And then there's Heather Graham, awesome authors.
Yeah.
They're horror.
So,
I like
yeah.
horror.
So, I'm kind of curious with having 20, 21 books under your belt. If somebody was to say, walk up to you and go, hey, Nicole, I want to read some of your books, but I don't have time to read all 21 books right now. Where would you point them out to start with? What would you recommend they start with?
Um, so my first one, Dark Pathways, mainly about all my first experiences with ghosts and my gifts. That'll be the best place to start.
Wow, that's pretty cool to suggest someone to start at the very beginning.
And over the years, I developed my gifts and my experiences are getting more crazy and more vivid than my dreams.
No, so how do you go about explaining to people past lives? Because you mentioned past lives, and so I'm curious when people ask you what is a past life, how do you explain that?
It's hard to explain, but it's like you're an old soul. I know I feel like I'm an old soul. And I've had a past life and UFO with Russian then, and I managed to see one of my past life, and I've seen a couple of my past life.
How did you know they were past lives? Like, did you just have a feeling, or did you see
Yeah, you have
something
a.
that it's dated?
I think you have a feeling like of knowing, like you've been there before, like the vu. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
did you just stumble on it, or were you doing like a meditation or some?
I believe I just stumbled upon it one time when I was like daydreaming or something that was behind my grandparents' hall, and I was just starting to go to sleep, and then I just went to sleep, and all of a sudden I felt like I was somewhere else. So and I don't. It's funny. I only see the back of myself. I never see the front.
So, if you were to go on an investigation to any location you wanted to investigate anything from spirit to cryptid to, what, a UFO or whatever, what would be your dream investigation?
I always say Dracula's castle.
Okay.
Yeah, for that, I my passport. I had to work on that. So,
Well, there are some that are saying soon passports won't be needed because we're going to, on our next level of where we're going, to be able to move around without actually using any means of travel. So you never know. You could end up in Dracula's castle without even trying.
that's true. I would definitely try to remote view that area as well. I had a few places in mind. I'm gonna remote view it again.
So, what's your favorite way of remote viewing?
Oh, I can do it very quickly now because I developed it over the years. You can use other mediums if you're just starting out. You can use water for drying, like you have how they do it back in the day with just water, and or mirrors. And always protect yourself. You never know what will be with you. And so I look for me mainly is from my mind. It's like I feel like I pretend that I'm in a theater, which is easy to do, right? Pretend you're in a movie theater, and you see this large screen. And then my spirit eyes told me to look through my third eye along the street. So I've been starting to do that, and I kid you not, I feel like I'm trespassing at some places. And I feel like you're really there.
Well, that kind of makes sense and is true from what I understand with talking to a few of the remote viewers out there. And I'm curious, when you start and before you go in, do you ask permissions to go to these places or wherever you're going to remote view, or do you
Oh
just
yeah,
go and do it?
oh yeah, especially with a client or a case. I'll always ask permission first. Excuse me.
No, that's good. And I'm curious, have you ever remote viewed your UFO experiences?
You know, I haven't yet. I don't know why I haven't. That's a good idea.
And
But
you know, you,
actually, I have remote viewed like the moon and other planets, but I haven't gone as far as remote viewing UFOs yet.
So, what did you find on the moon when you remote viewed?
Really, just the basic, the shape and the colors of the moon. It's weird whenever I try to remote view the dark side, right? There is a dark side of the moon. Now I'm not stating the Star Wars, but but I think there is a dark side of the moon. But
There,
every time I do, it's like I feel compelled to come right back. I don't know if they're trying to stop me or block me or why I can't remote view fully yet. But I'm trying.
oh, sorry about that. The allergies
No
are
worries.
kicking up a little bit.
I know how that is. I allergy my throat and it's killing me. And I do radio.
Yeah, so, how did you get started in radio?
It's so weird. I guess you found me, um, paranormal Q radio, they found me. And I've had no basic training. You know how to broadcast school, right? I haven't even done for that yet. But they allowed me on their network. So like, oh, that's why I trained myself as I go.
No, and the reason I ask is being on etalk.tv, we're actually streaming live right now on the radio as well.
Oh,
And
nice. Hi,
everyone in
everyone.
everyone in Radio Land heard me sneezing, but I was able to mute it for the show, the live stream here. But I was actually against radio at first because I felt like everyone's just going to hear everything and they're not going to experience what's being said in a way or see what's being talked about. And I was actually advised by Jeff, who owns eTalk, Jeff Vernell, great guy.
Oh,
And he was like, no, the point of radio is when you're describing, like, if you were holding an object, he goes, people that are listening on the radio will tune in to see what object you're talking about, like, your book that you just held up. And
it's
so,
actually one of my favorite books I've written. And it has a foreword by Dr. Heatherley, my haunted travel. It's funny, I went to a lot of those places and later found out that they're haunted. So that's what prompted me to write that book.
I was just about to ask if you traveled as a child or a young adult and then got into the paranormal field, did you learn, like, so many places you had went to were haunted and what your reaction to that was?
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe they were haunted of the places that we visited. Like the old Mission Inn, I didn't realize that was haunted.
Yeah,
So
so
and Disneyland and all the parks and even and I've been through Disneyland a lot of times and I just felt some things there. So yeah, no doubt that's also haunted.
what do you think is haunting Disneyland?
Oh, a lot of the um spirits and ghosts that actually tragically lost their lives on the riots, basically. And also people would spread their loved ones' ashes, which eventually will be cleaned up by the crew. So it's not a good idea to do that. But yeah. And Walt Disney himself supposedly there's a rumor that he also might help there as well.
Yeah, and I was curious if which one of the parks he favored, if it was Disneyland or Disney World.
I believe it was Disneyland. I just heard.
So, have you ever thought about, like, remote viewing ancient events or mysteries, like, say, oh,
I
someone died of mysterious circumstances. They don't even know where the body is and everything. Have you ever thought about, oh, maybe I can remote view and, tell the story?
yeah, kind of like missing person cases, right? So that's where basically I started with remote viewing. And a friend of mine, he was testing me. I'm like, go ahead, test me. I don't mind being tested. Um, he was giving me this case from remember that show, I think it was in Search Up, when they did the mysteries. That's an
Oh,
old show in Search Up.
In search of, yes.
And so one of the mysteries, so I kept seeing like a custodian, or like how they used to say janitor, but I kept saying custodian. And so he like, oh, okay, I was talking something. So yeah.
Well, that's cool. And I'm kind of also a little bit curious, if you're a fan of, say, old shows and movies like the Golden Age, like they're saying, like, example, Marilyn Monroe or Olivia de Havilland or, one of them. And if
Oh yeah.
you ever remote viewed to say, what was, who were they really? What were they about really?
Yeah, I've got a list. I mentioned a list. Definitely. Because I actually, in one of my recent book, Through the Veil. I don't know if you see that one.
Not
What
yet.
time we got left? Through the Veil is, well, I remote view, um, a particular haunted hotel in LA, out here in Los Angeles. And for some reason, I kept feel like I'm going up in the elevator. You know, the one girl that got killed. We think it's from
Right.
the elevator game. I think she was showing me where she passed. So she's taking me all the way up to the top of the building.
Okay.
And then that's where I get nervous and come back. That's one thing about remote viewing. If you get nervous or scared in any way, you snap right back. So,
So I'm kind of curious now a little bit to ask, are you afraid of heights?
no, not really. Never bothered me.
Okay, because I was wondering if you were afraid of heights and you're remote viewing and someone's going up and up and up, if you're going to be like, nope, I reached my threshold. Sorry, I'm out.
I think I was afraid I was going to see her body floating
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
yeah,
water.
that could do it.
I didn't want that to haunt me.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a remote viewing session and about to get to an answer and see something really clear and somebody taps you or bumps you and pulls you out?
Not necessarily pulling me up, but it pulled me in.
Really?
I was giving a place, I won't say the address or anything, but he was giving me a. Actually, you're not really supposed to know the targets, right? But I've been
Right.
testing this. I've been testing it. So give me the target of a location. All of a sudden, I was right there, and it's like, and I think either the previous owner or the current owner saw me. And she like that. That I think we both stared at each other, and then I went snap back. I know it's
Yeah.
hard to explain.
No, I understand, and I'm kind of curious as you're remote viewing. Do you feel like you're actually there in the event and can interact and maybe change stuff, or no, you are there strictly as observer, and nobody really knows you're there.
I think a little bit of both, but I think more so just an observer. And I feel, but in my experience, I've experienced both.
So, which style of remote viewing do you like to do more often, the observing or the trying to interact?
Probably try to do more interact, more than just observing. Because if I feel like if I travel there, then why not try to interact?
In which case, I'm curious, have you ever remote viewed yourself in the past to say, hey, do this because you're going to be much happier if you do this instead of that?
I never thought of that. I think I would stare myself though. I would think myself was a ghost or something. It's like I was
Yeah,
watching Harry Potter. I don't know if you like Harry Potter, but
yeah,
they were Hermione was doing the time travel thing. You can't see yourself. You might go crazy if you do. I think it's the same scenario with remote viewing.
yeah. I think every time travel show has that paradox of you can't see yourself in the past because there's universal consequences. And personally, I don't know that I give a lot of
Why our
credence to that.
timeline can be crazy.
Right. And I don't think the universe is going to collapse if we interact with
We're
ourselves.
still here.
But do I think we ought to be opening up time traveling anytime soon to the public? Probably not, because
Not for
who
many
knows
years.
what everyone's going to go and do and have to undo. And can it be undone? That's the interesting question, is once a change
Yeah.
is made, can it be restored? What's your theory behind that? Can events change and be changed back, or once they're changed, they're changed?
I think once there's change, there's change. But hopefully, if you're there in time, you might be able to stop it. Or like an airplane crash, you'd probably try to stop it, but they won't listen to you. But they went anyway. But I don't know.
Yeah. Uh, well, and the interesting thing is, I've often wondered where the idea comes from, because there's been a few movies and I think even series about cops that travel through time to arrest criminals in different times. And it's like, huh, do we really have a agency that's, watching the timelines? And, is that real, or is that just a figment of imagination, or partly real, but not to the scale of what they're showing it?
I would say anything is possible in this.
Yeah, so we've actually gone a little bit over the hour. Do you
Oh,
need to go, or
oh no, I did. Yeah.
so what is your favorite book that you've written that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wrote this book. This is my all-time favorite book.
I would say I have two actually.
So what are the two?
The one I showed you earlier. What? My Haunted Travels, Haunted California. I shared a lot of places in what I experienced in that one. And then also my latest one is Through the Veil, where I do a lot more remote viewing experiences. Or rather, experiments. Yeah.
All right. And so I know when we were last talking, you were working on new book. Did you
Oh,
finish that one or still working
I'm
on it?
still working on it. I'm halfway done already.
Wow.
I can type fast. I think playing the
So,
piano helps.
yeah, I can imagine. And so I'm curious to people like myself and others who are thinking about or are in the process of writing a book. What is your recommendations to them?
I would say don't think about do it. Do it. And
So
we're only here for a short time. It's like do
that's true. We are.
it.
And any advice on how to get started? Because I know that's the hardest part for a lot of people is getting the first word written.
Oh, well, just set some time for yourself, and you have your space right here in my space, where I spend a lot of alone time on meditation, and even if you write one paragraph a day, at least it's a start.
That's true. And are you one of
So,
those authors that walks around with a pad of paper and writes whenever inspiration strikes, or do you wait till you get home?
yeah, I always have a little pad and pen with me, just in case, or I use my phone.
Yeah, that's true. We do have means on our
I keep
phones.
a lot. I keep a lot of my dreams that I remember in my phone. But
So where do you get? So what inspires you to write? Like what? Where do you find the best inspiration comes from?
either from my many strange paranormal experiences or um from my dreams. I've had many vivid dreams, but rather nightmares. And one if I may have time to share one, um I felt like I was trapped in like an old sawmill, how to use a big saw, how to cut trees with a saw. And then all of a sudden upon waking I smelled the sawdust. So it kind of spooked me for years.
I can imagine that because that's quite a unique smell, and it also varies on where you're at in the country because pine has a certain smell to oak that has a certain smell.
Right.
Do you remember what the smell was? What kind of tree it was, or just that it was sawdust?
I believe it's just sawdust. And to this day, I can't stand it.
Well, then I know
Mm,
there's some restaurants you don't go to because they used to put sawdust on the floors.
uh, yeah. Speaking of restaurants, we got to investigate a really haunted active restaurant one time when we first started out.
Really, what was that like?
It was quite active, and it's called a Hunter's Steakhouse. They have the best food, by the way, for the others. And it's over in Oceanside here in California. And my friend Kimberly and I, we got to investigate there after hours. And so rumors has it they have the restaurant built over a cemetery, like in a movie Paradise type thing. And that's what I told them mainly where it's coming from because of that, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine having a restaurant built on your remains is not a pleasant feeling.
And what's creepy is they always hear sounds of children in their hallways, and there's no children there at the time. And the bar area is quite active, and I always felt drawn to go up the bar, of course. I always felt drawn up there. And finally, when I went up there, we felt a strong presence Like, you know how it gets really cold where you can see your breath? That's what we experienced. Not just a cold spot, it was something there.
Wow, and being in California, that does not happen often.
And I've experienced cold spots in various haunted places, and this one really, stuck with me for years.
Yeah. Did you ever get the chance to investigate outside of California?
Not necessarily outside like I would like to, but I got to travel like to Florida just for Disney World trip. But I've had crazy experiences there even.
All
on
right,
that first night, ready? The first night, my girlfriend had a crazy dream. She rarely dreams. And then I kept hearing something knocking from the closet. But they don't hear it, but I heard it. And then all of a sudden, later that evening, I started talking in my sleep. And I never did that. And I just said one word. I said, red. Red, what's red? Like, what red from? Like, red, what? And then to this day, I never understood that. And I still talk in my sleep.
yeah. I wonder how many people actually do and don't know it, because unless you have a partner that's around, I would imagine you could be telling all kinds of things in your sleep and nobody ever knows.
Yeah, it's like I'm so tempted to record myself while I sleep.
Not me.
I wouldn't
I don't.
either. I'd be afraid of what I would see.
Well, I'm not afraid of what I might see. I'm afraid of what I might hear.
That's
Like,
it.
start describing something and being like, "Wait a minute, that is not something I ever wanted to hear about."
So now I just learned to try to protect myself even before I go to sleep. And sometimes it works.
Yeah. So, do does everyone around you kind of being in the paranormal, or do you have somewhat we call like the Muggle normals around?
Yeah, basically it. I had a grandmother that I can at least buy to, and she hit her 80s now. But yeah, before I would just oh, am I there? I keep going in and out. Sorry. So yeah, she's really the only one that I can really open up to about my experiences. And she knows I was gifted right away.
No, I think that's important because people don't
Yeah, at least one
realize.
person.
Yeah, everyone has the one person they can confide everything to, and then they have the people that they compartmentalize what they confide to.
Yeah. Yeah, even though my late husband passed, my 2020, even though he wasn't really into all this, but he supported me and he knew about my gifts as well.
Yeah,
So yeah.
has he come around since?
Oh yeah. You let me know you're there. I remember one time, do I still have time? Uh I remember one time I was putting away his things and he kind of person's like, don't mess with my stuff, I want to be here. So I was putting away his clothes and these containers, the what do you call them, containers? And all of a sudden, it just started to shake real violently on its own. I did not kick it or nothing. There was no earthquakes. You know how we get earthquakes out here? There was no quakes. It shook violently for a good 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious,
I'm
with you.
surprised I didn't run out screaming.
Yeah, I'm curious with you saying that he was not a believer in everything. Has he ever come around and said, "Hey, Nicole, you were right about everything"?
But however, I did hear him one time. It's like I would never. This I always get kind of emotional when I heard, um, I heard him say, "I will wait for her."
Aw,
Yeah,
that's
I just
sweet.
hope, I just hope that I didn't stop him from like moving on. I just don't want him to be stuck.
I hear that a lot, and I've I kind of have the feeling when loved ones pass, they go and do their thing, and they come around, and they go and do their thing, come around. I don't really think, in my personal opinion, with them being an energy form, that we could ever keep them here. Like,
Right,
because energy goes where energy is going to go. And that's like when people say, like, oh, the spirit's trapped in this room. I'm like, unless there's mirrors on every wall, I don't see how you can trap a spirit in a room because
or a
it's
box that
energy.
matter. Right.
So, yeah. So, what is one thing in this world that you would like to see come about in the future with, being like paranormal background or UFOs? What is one thing you would like to see happen in your lifetime to go, thank you, that makes all of this worthwhile?
Just all of us to have be able to work together as a whole and not working against each other or having eagles or just working together. We're after the same thing, right? So
That's true. And I love that because I was totally expecting, oh, to see spirits on TV, interacting with us or doing shows with spirits. And it's like, okay, but no, that's really cool. And
right,
that's a noble goal. And I'm all about the para unity too. And
right,
I kind of gotten the feeling that a lot of the people who I've heard about being like on the negative side of para unity and meaning they're all about themselves. My experiences when I run across them now is they're kind of 180 that and have
right.
like more so into the para unity and like bringing about the community feeling and realizing that yeah, they were wrong about all of that. And but I agree, and I feel like the drama needs to disappear because
Yeah, I try to
I
stay
don't
away
think
from
it
drama.
serves. Yeah,
I have enough in it already, so I don't need any more.
yeah, exactly. So where can everyone find your show and find your books?
Oh, I'm basically everywhere on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram. Um, yeah, from my books at Amazon or Barnes& and Noble. And I forgot to say Barnes& and Noble. I have to do a book signing one time. That was fun.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I've been asked actually, what inspired you to write, and I told us I hope I gave them a right advice. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I think they went away happy.
I think in those instances you gave them exactly what they needed to hear
Mhm.
because it came from a true source instead of thinking about it and going, yeah, this is what they're looking to hear. This is what they're wanting to hear. And
Right.
so it took you out and brought the answer through, is what it sounds like. When I hear people say, I don't know what I said, but they really liked it. I'm like, yes, that
Yeah.
was a divinely given message, is what I like to call them.
True.
No, but thank you for coming on and thank you for being a guest.
Well, thank you for having me.
And I also want to say thank you for having me on your show. And
Oh, anytime. It always wasn't bad.
well, thank you. So, one of the last questions I always like to ask, and I get a lot of comments from people that they say they really enjoy this question, is from your life's experiences, doesn't have to be limited to the paranormal field or podcasting, but you can go where you want to go. What is a golden nugget you would like to leave the audience with?
I was just basically follow your dreams, and you never know how much time you have left. Spend time with your loved ones.
That is beautiful.
Thanks.
And so, with that, I am going to say good night to everyone. And thank you so much, Nicole. You were
Thank
awesome.
you. Happy Halloween, by the way.
Happy Halloween. And I want to say to everyone out there and everyone in the chat room, thank you for participating. Thank you to everyone that's watching.
Thanks, guys.
And wherever you are in the world, make it a wonderful day, afternoon, evening. And if you're asleep, may you have sweet dreams and embrace every day, as Nicole put it, following your dreams and not putting off talking to those that you love and interacting with them, because time is limited. We don't know how much time we truly have. So don't take it for granted and end up with regrets. And so, with that, I'm going to say, add to that, fill it with love and joy, and always have hope. And that if you ever need hope, just know it's around the corner, that proverbial corner. You'll get there. Just don't give up on yourself and your dreams. Because, I mean, look at us. We never thought we'd be where we are today. And here we are. So if we can do it, you can do it. So with that, I'm going to bid my final adieu and say good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.